One Spirit Airlines flight changed my life forever. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how one cheap flight from Miami, Florida to Atlantic City, New Jersey on a Spirit Airlines flight shifted everything for me and took my business from me being unconfident, shaky, to, hey, I know I'm doing the right thing. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Landon Meadows. I'm an entrepreneur and financial coach. I teach people about money so they can magnify the best parts of themselves. Last February, I was coming back from my friend's wedding in Costa Rica, and what started off as one of my worst days ever ended up becoming one of my best days. It started off, my wife and I were supposed to fly from Costa Rica to Fort Lauderdale, then get on a plane, get from Fort Lauderdale, and go up to New York. Be back home, 8-hour travel time. We had like 2-hour layover in Fort Lauderdale. Everything was gonna be smooth. We were happy as could be. Everything on our trip was going great. We got on, our flight was on time, went through security great in Costa Rica. We get to the Fort Lauderdale and we're getting ready to go through customs. And my wife is not a US citizen. So we're coming into the United States. She's not a US citizen, and the guy's talking at us, looking over our stuff. Are you coming into this country? All this stuff. And then he like scans our passport and this red light goes off. And I'm just like, oh no, what are we gonna do? After the red light goes off, we get these other guys come from the back room and they're like, excuse me, ma'am, you need to come with us. And I'm just like, oh, you've gotta be kidding me, what? So we have to go. They take me and my wife through all these like hallways into this tiny like blank room in the middle of the airport. I don't even know where I'm at. And they start interrogating us and asking us all these questions about what we were doing in Costa Rica, if we're bringing back drugs, all these just crazy questions. I'm like looking at the guy, bro, I'm an American citizen. She's my wife of 4 years. We live in New York. I'm explaining my whole life story to this customs agent guy. Long story short, we were there for 3 hours in this room dealing with these people, trying to convince them that we're not like criminals. And the worst part about it was we finally get like to the point and he's like, well, you guys are missing a document, so we can't let your wife into the country. That just took every ounce of like patience that I had right out of me. He goes, but the good news is we can get you another document here on site. I'm like, dude, bro, let's give me the document. He said, yeah, sure. It'll be a $500 fee. $500 is a piece of paper, press print. It should be like 10 cents. But I look at the time and I'm like, oh, our flight is boarding in like 5 minutes. So we need to go. I'm like whipping out my credit card and said, here, pay the $500. We got to go. Otherwise, we're going to miss our flight going to New York. And he's like, okay, I got you. It was a new guy. So the new guy is figuring out the machine, plugging away. We finally get to spend $500 extra. We go, we put our bags on this conveyor belt because they had pulled all of our bags off of the plane. And they say, all right, you should be good to go ahead and get to your next flight. But what happened was, we missed the check-in window for our flight by 3 minutes. So we had to run all the way upstairs, and because we went through the customs, they made us go back through security at the front of the airport. And then we had to go all the way to the line at the baggage, like to where you check your bag. We go there, we tell the people our situation. They say, oh, we'll put you on the flight. Oh, we're sorry, you're too late. You don't have, because you can only cross security after a minimum amount of time, and you missed it by 4 minutes. Completely deflated. Now I'm completely frustrated, like, oh, now we missed this flight, paid $500 and we still can't get home. We're calling people, trying to figure out, oh, can we stay with family? How do we get another flight? And then finally we think, okay, instead of going to New York, is it possible we go to Atlantic City, New Jersey? Which, for those of you who don't know, it's about a 3-hour drive from Atlantic City up to New York. I asked the Spirit lady, hey, can we get on this flight, please? Like, I want to go home. I'm completely exhausted. I've been up since like 5 in the morning coming back from Costa Rica. And she's like looking. There's 2 seats left. She's like, but you guys can't be together. You got to separate. Like, whatever. Just get us on the flight. We get on the flight, and I see there's a small plane going to Atlantic City. And it's one where it's just 2 on each side instead of the 3. And I see this old dude sitting by the window. And he seems friendly, looks nice. He's got his Florida, like, just total Florida vibe. He's got like a red ball cap, some way too short golfer shorts, and just a regular like Florida dad t-shirt. I talked to the guy, and the guy's name ended up being a guy by the name of Ron Pfeiffer. And it turns out he used to handle all of the shipping imports and exports for Mack trucks. And he had this huge shipping company and all these things. And I was still trying to build my confidence. I had been studying with my mentor, learning all these things about money and business, but I was struggling a lot with the confidence for when I was speaking to these wealthy people. The reason I was struggling is I was this expert on money, but I knew that they had a lot more than me. And this is a guy who had tens of millions of dollars, and little old me at 22 years old, I was like, I ain't got that kind of money. I know, I just assumed I just put him up on this pedestal. And I started talking to this guy, asking him questions. He asked me what I did, and we started talking about money and business as a whole. And what made this conversation be the turning point that changed everything for me is when I started talking to him, he respected what I said. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. And then he told me who his financial advisor was. He said, look, I already have a financial advisor. He's a guy by the name of Peter Mallouk, which Peter Mallouk is one of the most well-known financial advisors in the country. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. And when we were communicating, it was like we were speaking the same language. And this guy respected me because of the way I treated him, the way I didn't try to sell him, the things I talked about money. And he's like, man, someone your age, you're saying the same things. The way you approach money is exactly the way it's supposed to be. I'm really impressed with who you are. And it took me back because here I was thinking I was this irrelevant young 22-year-old who maybe understood concepts but was kind of insecure about knowing who I was and what I was actually talking about. But to be validated by a guy I had never met who had massive success and was dealing with one of the top guys in the country, to validate and acknowledge me for who I was and what I was trying to accomplish, gave me so much confidence going forward. And as I kept approaching successful people, I wasn't afraid anymore because I knew what I had was genuine, what I had was real, and what I had actually worked. After 22 hours of travel, we finally made it home, and I wasn't exhausted. I was excited and energized because I finally had hope and confidence in the fact that all these hard work that I've been putting in for 5 years was finally about to pay off. When I walked onto that Spirit flight from Fort Lauderdale to Atlantic City, and I saw that guy sitting next to me, which was going to be my seat partner all the way up, I could have just blew him off, never talked to him, put some headphones on, got some rest because it had been a long day. But by taking the chance to constantly be trying to build relationships with people, I got to discover this guy made millions of dollars in the shipping business and was personal clients and good friends of one of the most famous financial advisors in the country. And then to have that guy validate who I was and what I was going to do, all because I took the chance to break the ice. I said hello. I was focused more on being interested as opposed to just being interesting. And all of that came together to really shift the way I look at the world today. But most importantly, it shifted the way I look at myself. Some people consider Spirit Airlines a waste of time and a budget airline, but I say it doesn't matter where you are, it just matters who you are in that moment.